things where we can do drops, like the pads.
Okay, I'm working on the drop.
DJ.
You know, DJ K quick on the radio with Justinfication. All right, well, hello guys. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Geeks Are Easy, brought to you by Wakanda Moon Cosplay. I am live action animation, aka Sailor Uru. Today I'm here because I'm a lover of all geek things, right? Like anybody that knows me knows that I love all geek stuff, Marvel, DC, you name it, Star Wars, I love it, right? But people who really know me know that I also enjoy a bit of wrestling, which is awesome. And I don't always get a chance to watch the wrestling, so there'll be periods where I'm completely lost, right? So I always go to my friends and I say, hey man, catch me up on it. You know what I'm saying? But I never get caught up because it turns out to be a 45-minute argument, just about everything that's happening in wrestling. I'm like, dude, I literally needed like a 30-minute catch up. I mean, a 30-second catch up, not a 45-minute catch up. So I was like, well, since you guys talk for like 45 minutes anyway, let's do a podcast. So here we are. This is my wrestling talk.
Wrestling talk.
Wrestling talk. Wrestling talk. Wrestling talk. Wrestling. All right. So today I'm here with
Scat right on in.
Scat right on in there, baby. I'm a skibidi boppo. Okay, so anyway, I'm here with my two wrestling gurus and friends. I love these guys a whole lot. They really keep me in the know as far as wrestling goes. But I am here with Gustopher.
How's it going?
And Justinfication.
Hi.
Hey guys, what's up?
Oh, not much.
Chill, man. Missing Raw to be on this podcast. Sacrilegious.
Oh my God, I didn't even
Sacrilegious.
think about. Oh, Gus, are you missing Raw to be in this podcast?
No, because I wouldn't be watching Raw if I wasn't doing this podcast.
Standard salty wrestling fan.
Here we
doesn't
go.
really watch wrestling.
I resent that because I'm not salty. I'm taking a break from WWE. I haven't enjoyed them in quite some time.
Oh.
There's a lot more wrestling to watch nowadays, and I'm taking advantage of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you been able to dip your toes into AEW, Kaniqua?
I have dipped one toe into AEW. But I will say I love everything about it, even though I haven't gotten the best of chances to watch it. It's good to see Jon Moxley, formerly Dean Ambrose, and I love Dean Ambrose. I mean, he probably wasn't the best character, but I just love what he brought to the table. You know what I mean? He tried to make a mountain out of a molehill.
I don't think that's right.
That's not how it goes?
Yeah.
No, I do know what you're saying, man. I, for as goofy and as sometimes watery as Dean Ambrose was, for the most part, he always had decent matches. He was fairly entertaining, even in the goofy water treading. I am entirely fascinated with AEW and the production work that they're doing, but I am far more fascinated in how the saltiest wrestling fan I know for the last decade is actually enjoying wrestling now. What I just need you to on bare bones level tell me what about AEW is interesting to you. That's all. I think that's a fair
All
ask.
right. I will immediately push back by saying that it's not that I hated wrestling. I did not hate wrestling. I hated the product that WWE was putting out. As someone who has grew up watching WWE, I watched WCW. I didn't really watch ECW at all. Of course, I would want the WWE to put out really good shows.
Fair.
I'm not the type of person to say, oh, they suck. I don't want them to succeed at all. Blah 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 blah. They have a lot of things going on right now that I'm just not interested in, and I'm just not going to even torture myself by wading through the crap that they have going on right now, hoping that it will somehow turn around. I'm giving them a break. I've done it before. Watching John Cena and Randy Orton hot potato the title for what felt like 50 years, it really had me walk away from the WWE for a while. It wasn't until the whole Punk thing happened that I started watching again. There was a huge gap in between then.
Right.
There was a huge gap between them.
All fair. All fair. 2 minutes, though. You had not answered why you like AEW. You just told me why you dislike WWE.
That's true.
True, but
not,
I just
not
want that
salty
was
wrestling fan. Though.
that was
hashtag not salty wrestling fan.
Look.
Seems a bit salty.
Yeah, totally. There is some salt in my veins.
I'm not here to pick sides, though.
The main reason, if I try to sum it up, the reason why I'm enjoying AEW so much is because it's such a breath of fresh air compared to what I'm used to seeing.
You know,
And the storylines, they're fast paced. They're easy to follow, but they don't also talk to you like you're an idiot child.
Yeah.
They don't have to beat you over the head with what's going on. You can just pick it up and go.
Right.
You can tell that the wrestlers are really into the storylines they're just doing. Like you said earlier, the difference between Dean Ambrose and John Moxley is immense.
Well, creative control.
That really is what it boils down to. So the same guy, for me, I did not like Dean Ambrose. Then again, I didn't like any of the Shield. I was never that big on Seth Rollins. I was never that big on Roman Reigns.
Watch your mouth.
So I could take him, relieve him. Out of the three, I guess I hated him the least. So I'll give you that.
Dean Ambrose?
Yeah, Dean Ambrose.
Weird. I would have gone Seth Rollins, but
Really?
okay. Yeah.
No, sure.
I know you
He
love
had a
Dean
move
Ambrose's
called the
little
curb stomp, and they
bounce,
just took that away from him.
little bounce off the ropes.
Right.
that he did
Okay.
in Bounce
Little things
Recovery.
like that, where they had him do that little foot bounce thing in the turnbuckle or go through the ropes every time he was thrown into it. It was cool. Maybe the first 2 or 3 times he did it, but they ran that crap into the ground to the point that's all he ever did. That was his character.
Yeah.
Then he comes over as John Moxley, and I am. Can we curse here?
Not really.
Okay.
Yes.
We are. I already lost my train of thought.
Going from Dean Ambrose to John
Yeah.
Moxley.
Yeah. Seeing the few matches that I've seen of him in AEW, I'm a fan now. I really enjoy seeing him do his thing. I enjoy his promos, something that I never thought I'd say.
Yeah.
He looks far more comfortable in his skin. He looks like he's enjoying himself.
Yeah.
Which
Exactly.
comes through in the character.
It really
And I
shows in the
think it
product.
really, AEW reminds me more of the Attitude Era of WWE. You know, back when they had a little bit more creative control. Before
Too much, some would say.
Well,
Yeah,
It kind of
that
killed
is true.
WCW, but
That is true. But you know, they did get a little wild after a while.
Yeah.
But the diversity and inclusion. You know, like, but the fact that it's so many different characters, so many different personas and personalities and wrestlers, and from like the not so good to the really good, it doesn't really matter because they all play each other in a balanced way. To where for me, sometimes when I know like it's a missed move or something, it's still good because the style of which they're doing it in is
it's fast paced.
they trust each other a lot too. You know, in the WWE, sometimes you see that hesitation because they don't trust each other, because maybe they don't trust the company and all that stuff like that. But you can see hesitations sometimes with certain wrestlers. They go out there and they just do it regardless.
So in the air of it being a breath of fresh air, how do you feel about a lot of the nuances they're bringing over from the Attitude Era, from WCW, the clear influences that they have? I mean, down to the point where, I don't know if you guys saw today, there will be a house show, not a house show, a Dynamite, which is their weekly TV show in Miami, themed Bash at the Beach, which is an old WCW pay-per-view.
I did see that. That was pretty cool.
You like that?
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I will admit, I was a WCW fanboy growing up. I was first introduced to wrestling when Hulk Hogan turned heel. I knew what wrestling was, but to me, it was something that my uncle took the TV away from when I was trying to watch it, so I hated wrestling. Then I saw the whole Hollywood Hogan versus Sting thing, and I was just enthralled. I watched every single week. That's when I started watching the Luchadors. Chris Jericho started there. I didn't really hear about ECW until much later, and by that time I wasn't into the hardcore style.
Right. Talk about an era where they had so much fun. You know what I mean? Even if they weren't getting along work-wise, they were doing some stuff that they would not let it on television these days.
Yeah. That is what a lot of people refer to as like the pinnacle of wrestling, that time period, just because it was just such like a white hot product. It was very popular.
Right.
And obviously I don't think wrestling is ever going to be particularly that popular again. And I think some of that's a good thing, because some of the stuff they did back then, I mean, we look back on it, and for the most part, it was a really awesome era. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin, you had The Rock, you had The Undertaker, but a lot of crap came with that too.
Yeah. There was a lot of problems.
There's a lot of problems.
A lot of it doesn't hold up.
No.
Yeah.
It's definitely a product of its time, and it's really interesting to actually go back and watch what we grew up watching with, adult eyes.
The benefit of the Attitude Era, or at least like the positives that we all can remember from that time period, lie in the character work that they did for each of the performers.
Just gonna say something.
I mean, as much as the smart marks are gonna hate me for saying this, but Vince Russo it's one thing that he benefited from was not only giving something to everyone, but also embracing everyone as far as a character. Now, whether any of those were good or not is a different story. But the fact that's what we're all gonna remember is not just Stone Cold, giving Vince McMahon the stunner, but it's because that he's his boss and has been dragging him through the mud for weeks and weeks and weeks.
You remember those personas that they created, which I think is where the downfall went when they stopped letting them create their characters and stopped giving the audience a chance to either like it or not like it. If they like it, then you spin it, babyface. If they don't like it, then you spin them heel, or you rework it, but you still let them work that. You know what I'm saying?
It's a matter of just giving them the time to do it. A lot of them just don't have the
and I
time
think
to
with
develop.
True. And a lot of them with the whole, they've had so many Hogans and stuff around for so long, to the point where they literally were breaking bones and stuff, like just walking. It's so true. It's true, man. To the point where you never really got that next generation until that next generation was the age of them when they got, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like John Cena came early, but he should have peaked earlier, and then you would have had him longer and more people maybe on his year, like your Brocks and a little bit before him and stuff.
I feel you, but you also got to think, like, we've had Cena for a long time.
Yeah.
Like,
true.
if you think of the top guys of these eras, your Hogans were only around for 6 or 8 years. Your Stone Cold was only really big for like 4 or 5.
True.
John Cena's done it for over a dozen years.
Yeah.
He was the top guy.
But yeah,
it just I guess flew by, or maybe just the fact that we're just so
or we just didn't get the talent.
Right, we're starved now of that talent.
But is it because they were constraining the talent? Is it because they had so much creative control over the talent couldn't, or the character couldn't bloom or be created, and they're writing these crapshoot stories that literally happen within one show, and it's ended.
Right.
It's gotten to the point where they're just churning out storylines just for
that
the sake
don't
of
make
it.
sense, and then they're just throwing people together to fight just to have a match during the show. It's like the randoms, just the random, and then why are they fighting? Why are they fighting? What
and that's
happened
happening
in the
more
back?
Often. You're running into these storylines that have no ending, and if there is an ending, it's a nonsensical one.
Because they only have a certain amount of players.
Which
legit players.
is one of, like I was about to say earlier, going back to the AEW thing. One of the things that I really love about AEW is their roster is nowhere near as big as the WWE's, but they make use out of pretty much everyone they have. The WWE, one of the biggest things that they're doing right now that I have a criticism of is that they have all this talent. They sign so many people to their company, and they sign them to do nothing with them. A lot of people are just thrown away to the wayside for no reason. So it's hard for me to get excited about this product. Like Aleister Black has been called up for months now, almost a year.
Yeah.
And what are we doing with him?
Nothing.
I mean, they're giving him backstage vignettes at least.
Yeah, he's been doing that for quite some time.
But that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't write full stories. When you don't get a group of writers when you don't get a good enough team that can write several stories and intertwine them, instead of, okay, we need to write some because we need Randy Orton back and he's healthy. You know what I'm saying? And have him feud with, I don't know, Fandango. Not Fandango. What's his name?
I mean, that's...
His name is Fandango.
Yeah.
I thought I was talking about the look, Forrest Whitaker. I thought I was talking about the movie, which is also Fandango.
That is also Fandango. Yeah. As much as I loved AEW, I don't think they've been telling stories perfectly either.
Not to say that it's perfect. Obviously, no promotion's perfect.
But you're attempting to tell stories, though. Different stories.
The effort really makes a difference.
It's really
to the point where I think it's their own detriment. I mean, you're running programs that are based off storylines that are on your YouTube show. Your casual fan is going to find it difficult to follow along with a big pay-per-view event
you're going to have to have a main show be a main show. That's what I think. That's the good plan where T'Challa is drinking, by the way, if you hear that in the background. That is my rabbit. She is having a ball.
I would agree with you in any other instance, but for me, I in particular haven't watched AEW Dark. I haven't been following their YouTube until this very day when you showed me Being the Elite. That's when I first saw my first video.
Which I think is to their detriment. Okay, so what was how did you feel about Janela and Spears at AEW Full Gear? Do you feel like you went into that show with a solid footing into that match?
A solid footing in what way? Like
into the story that was being told, because there was a story. Spoiler alert.
I'm sure there was a story.
It was on that damn Being the Elite show. You know, they had the segment on AEW Dark, but even that's a YouTube show. That's not main TV.
But they've also showed their feud on Dynamite, and to me, that's what I took it as. It was just a simple blood feud. Shawn Spears trying to prove how badass he is, being the chairman now. For me personally, I think if we're bringing up Shawn Spears, he's the one guy that hasn't really made too much of a difference for me either way coming from WWE. I think with Jon Moxley and Pac, I have just been immensely impressed with how little I cared about them in the WWE to how much they're become my favorites here in the AEW. And that's just a venue change that caused all the difference.
But an attitude change. That's a lot of things. Pac, I feel like, is going through that Stone Cold summer that Stone Cold had in ECW prior to jumping into WWE.
It shows the difference in telling an actual story, whether the story's crap or not. You know what I mean?
It's
because
good
people
content.
want to follow something, and they want to have interchangeable stories. They don't want to have just one story or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like
a lot more layered. Right?
Yeah, like if you're gonna put somebody against somebody, at least have 2 episodes before that sets it up. Like set up the match.
And I can appreciate stuff like that. Certainly, it's just especially as the smart Mark who watches everything that they do, I can appreciate that level of storytelling. I just worry about the casual viewer wondering why they're wasting 30 minutes of their time watching a match that they don't know a build for, or at least don't have a decent enough build for to really enjoy it, to really wrap their head around it.
I feel like the pacing of the show, and this is, you can't help but compare to the WWE product because WWE was the only wrestling program for so long worth watching.
Oh, yeah.
So the comparison is always going to be there. But I feel like if we're looking at the just content-wise, Raw specifically has more dead air than I can stomach at that point.
It's 3 hours, dude.
Yeah, it's 3 hours. Most of the segments, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but most of the segments are painful to watch. Painful. There'll be the occasional good match. not to say, I'll say personally, I think WWE's strongest points right now is its women's division. They have the most entertaining talent in the women's division going on right now. Even though some of those feuds have been done to death, I would still take those over anything the men are doing right now.
All of them are done to death, honestly.
Yeah.
And certainly that's where AEW is dropping the ball.
Mm-hmm. And they use a lot of the same storylines and the same people and things of that nature, and it gets stale.
And I have to ask why, because you have such a huge roster.
But that's what happens when you don't get enough writers or don't have writers who know how to write multiple storylines. It has to be multiple. Like, you could have something running with a Charlotte and a Bailey. You can have something running with a Sasha and a AJ Lee. I'm sorry, I just couldn't think of anybody else at the moment. And then you could throw a Becky in the middle of both of them. You know what I'm saying? And then you can have a couple girls come get Becky, and then you make it a team thing, and then it's out of the team. Like, there's so many things you can do when you write the story. Like, at least set it up.
That's certainly, again, where AEW is dropping that ball.
Set it up.
They sat around, they touted the women's division, and they're not really offering us much as far as compelling storylines. I mean, again, no setup was had between... oh my god, I'm drawing a blank on that.
Against, oh my god.
Shit. Mm-hmm. The current champion, the last match at Full
Riho
Gear.
and Sakura.
Sakura, thank you.
Sakura.
I mean, the build that was told was in the hype package before the actual match, not the week before, not anything else on their TV shows.
But
that's just a shame, because they do have the talent, I think.
They have so much talent. Both of them have talent. I think AEW will get better.
Oh yeah,
certainly.
That's what I was about to say right there.
They're still super young.
AEW is still super young, and WWE is not. So I can't judge them on the same level, if that makes sense.
It happens when someone has so much creative control that they're afraid to let other people have the creative control, you know what I mean? Because then what if this person hits with the creative control and then everybody wants them to take over everything, right. And then now you're not the guy anymore. Right. You're not the guy that makes all the decisions. You're not the guy that brought it to the Attitude Era and brought it to all these eras that were so big at the time. But like, that guy is like 82 now. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you were born in the 30s,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where AEW is gonna have the edge. They've got the belief in their own talent.
They've got young minds. They've got people just thinking. Even if it's trash, they're thinking and they're pumping it out.
Any jabroni that comes in with that kind of attitude, they can just get out of here.
Right.
We don't need you.
Right.
Whereas WWE would just cut them a check. Please be our champion. We'll put you on Raw.
For me, I don't see exactly who WWE's audience is right now. Because with what they're going on right now, I can't say that it's for children. I can't say it's for adults either. It's such a mishmash of content that I can't follow.
It's the widest net possible to try to get all of them. The answer is all of them.
Right. They of course they want to have a wide audience. But when your show doesn't have a structure, it falls apart.
When it doesn't have stories, it falls apart. Because there's nothing for all of those people to relate to.
It's just not their
And WWE has a roster so freaking big that they can literally write independent stories and intertwine stories using every race on the planet. Yeah. Because they pretty much have somebody to represent some portion of the world on their roster.
And we keep seeing the same faces.
But then when you see new faces that should, go off to do things and and make more of a difference, they just throw them away. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you're doing great. Okay, well, we're done with you because Brock Lesnar came back. So now we've got to write some stuff on the fly. We got to cut the legs right from under you. With Brock Lesnar. I would have liked Brock Lesnar to fight Jinder Mahal. Like, they're super big. That would have been interesting.
I'd watch it.
Right? But if you set it up, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But Brock only fights this person and only fights that person. He's only fought 3 people on the roster since he's been back.
Well, okay, with that said, this Sunday we have Survivor Series where Brock will be facing Rey Mysterio for the title. What are you shaking your head for? We haven't even... What?
Look,
What?
Okay.
It's not the same
already,
3 people.
He's already frowning down.
It's not the same 3 people.
Okay, no, you're right. In that aspect, I'm sure it'll be a great match. Every time Brock Lesnar has wrestled, like the last, 3 or 4 matches, he's put on a really good match.
He's been sharp. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with Brock Lesnar as a performer. My problem with Brock Lesnar is that he's a part-timer. And at that point, when you're constantly having a part-timer as your champion where he just shows up whenever he likes...
They need to just make him into like a Rock position. Like, say, dude, when you're not fighting, when you're come make an appearance or 2, maybe build up something where you fight one guy, but leave after that, please.
Yeah, I didn't realize, like, at what point WWE thought that attractions need to have the title. I mean, for years that was their shtick, was that, you know, you had your title holders, but your attractions were just that. We're just your attractions. You're Andre the Giants and whatnot.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna come, and I may win one because I agreed to come twice. You know, I'll win one, but I'm definitely losing the second one because I ain't got time to come back again.
Yeah. I'm here to
for another
tickets.
year.
I'm here to...
Could you imagine
Could
you imagine The Rock having the belt? Like, are you serious, dude?
No.
I mean,
well,
it
wasn't
like
that long
3
ago.
years ago,
Yeah.
right? That he had the belt. So.
No, I know, but they immediately moved forward. Like, he was like, "Look, man, all right, I got to give it up."
He lost it a month and a half
Yeah,
later.
I got to give it up. And
We were there at that show when he won the belt.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Oh my life.
Watch him pin CM Punk
Ah.
after putting him through the announce table.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yay!
I
Life.
guess. No.
Well, that's random too. That he's back, Mister. I would never ever come back.
Oh,
Ever in life.
Back is such a. I mean, he is talking about wrestling again, which I am in fact excited for.
I knew it.
I am not gonna
I
even
said
dip
he's
my toe in the fact that
Listen,
he's gonna wrestle.
When
again.
I heard
Yeah.
that he was back on, what was it, backstage or whatever it was,
Yep.
and but it had been talks that he was coming back, like, you know, a while ago, and it could have been, you know, hubbub, but it was still being talked about. He did make a quote unquote appearance in the ring at something. He got, you know, demolished in the UFC, not once, but twice. Okay. To the point where he couldn't even still have a career in the UFC after that. Like, how you gonna commentate on it? You gonna commentate about how the loser is losing? You know, he's really taking that right.
He does MMA commentary,
valiantly,
not for UFC. But.
Valiantly right now. You know, that's the way I used to take the lefts. Anyway, but the highlight about that is if he does come back, which he must not have any money, sorry, but if he comes back, if we can get an AJ Lee, man, that would be awesome.
She's a best-selling author now. She's pitching TV shows, last I heard. Like, I don't think we're gonna see her back. I can't imagine, especially in a wrestling capacity. Maybe in a you know, induct her into the Hall of Fame role in a dozen years or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Man, she's still got
I don't know.
a few years, man. Go back, get you like a year or two.
Well,
get you a couple million.
I think it's mental health things. That's
Oh,
what
right.
a lot of her books
that's
have been
true.
about. Was growing up and trying to live life with
You're right.
certain mental health issues. I don't know if that has to do with anything.
It's rough. Yeah, I'm sure it does, and I'm sure, like, you know, they deal with a lot in the wrestling field. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're on the road all the time. You don't have time to really just sit down and enjoy yourself and your family and your friends, and, you know, like, you really have to plan all that time. Mm-hmm. That's me cracking my fingers because I'm just that kind of person.
But going back to what we were talking about, Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar, I'm sure it'll be a pretty entertaining match, but we know how it ends.
I mean, yeah, he's just gonna toss him around for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen this song and dance a couple times before. That's why I'm shaking my head at it.
We've seen this song and dance all the time.
We've
seen this song and dance
time.
We've seen this song and dance every time.
Well, with this, does the Survivor Series stipulations ever really intrigue you? I mean, I prefer the current style where we're dipping into like the main champions fighting each other. Currently, they're doing the women's champion from Raw versus the women's champion from SmackDown versus the women's champion from NXT. Shayna Baszler, Becky Lynch, Bayley. Sorry, it took me a second to remember that last one. But like, is that something that interests you? Using the brand split finally to actually do battle with one another.
I will say NXT's inclusion really makes the difference there. Usually, I do enjoy Survivor Series. It's the last maybe year or so where Survivor Series was just not living up to expectations.
Getting rid of the 5-on-5 shenanigans.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I do really like Survivor Series. I'd say that's probably, third behind Royal Rumble and WrestleMania for my personal favorites.
Interesting.
Quite.
I mean, right, even when the Royal Rumble's bad, it's still the Royal Rumble,
Yeah.
so.
That's true.
I don't know. I like the concept of having these three individual brands meet in one ring. There's some awesome matchups out of it. Not just that women's match, but the United States title in AJ Styles versus Nakamura with the Intercontinental title versus Roddy Strong with the North American title. Like, these are all fun matches. I have the grossest, deepest feeling in my stomach that these are just going to be a bunch of dusty finishes, though.
Yeah,
They're not going to give us any
what it's
solid
going to be.
winners.
Come on, we've seen this happen so many times. This is my problem here. Like, I'm not even going to fool myself into getting excited because we know how this ends.
Yeah. You just want to watch Moxley and Omega kill themselves. That's fine.
Yeah, look, I'll take that match any day over pretty much the last couple of pay-per-views that I've
exactly
seen.
what I want.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want.
My point.
And then now poor Darby Allin's gonna die on Wednesday's
Oh,
Dynamite.
yeah, it's gonna be great.
No, it's gonna be awful.
No,
He's
okay.
like, I revel in it.
Going back to the Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega thing.
Here you go.
You and I have differences of opinion on this match. But I'm just going to go ahead and say, if it's not just the stipulation that made that match, but the two people that were in it. They were the ones that ended up telling the story. They were the ones that gave me the visuals that I'm pretty much going to remember for years to come. So, just like we had the Bret Hart versus Stone Cold image of him being in the sharpshooter with the blood running down his face. There was way more blood in that match than there was in the Kenny Omega Jon Moxley Lights Out match.
Correct.
The image of having the same move applied on Jon Moxley while he's crawling through glass, which I know is fake glass. I know it's not really cutting up his arms. But the fact that I can suspend my disbelief and just sit back and enjoy the wrestling match that I'm watching makes such a huge difference. No matter what happened there, I knew there was going to be a winner at the end of that match. And that's just a nice feeling.
There's always going to be a winner at the end.
No, not really.
Oh, you mean,
Like, so let's bring back what happened not that long ago with Seth Rollins and The Fiend at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is there's always has to be some sort of goofy stipulation that ends up ruining the entire thing at the end.
They can't just let them wrestle.
They can't just let them wrestle.
Oh boy, thank you for making my point for me in your own rant. That's my issue with the Moxley Omega match. It's not, while I don't like the hardcore stuff, that's not why I watch my wrestling. That's not my issue with the match. My issue with the match is people saying, oh, it was completely necessary for them to tell the story. It's not true. Moxley and Omega are fantastic wrestlers. Omega is probably #1 wrestler in the world right now. Fantastic storytellers. They didn't need that stipulation in order to tell the match. Sure, it made it, I guess, a little crazier. It's just wasn't necessary. That's for people who can't tell stories.
But
At least with wrestling.
But
These two can.
They can, and they did.
It's a shame that they weren't able to just do it in a wrestling match. I'm kind of just on Dean Ambrose's kayfabe side here with this. John Moxley, sorry, not Dean Ambrose. Good God.
Dean Moxley.
Yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
No, I mean,
Ambrose.
you're arguing a point that I didn't make. I'm not saying that this was absolutely necessary to end out their feud. I'm just saying it didn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
And it was a really good match. My favorite match of the night, probably. I love Kenny Omega.
Pac Hangman was better.
Oof. I love that match too, but I don't know about all that.
I'd even say the Young Bucks and Pride and Power, whatever they're called.
what
That
did you
was
say
better,
there,
too.
guys?
Yeah, of course.
Of course you would.
Because you know you love the Young Bucks.
I do love the Young Bucks.
That's
I love the
lovely.
Young Bucks. I love the Lucha Bros, SCU. The tag team division is amazing in AEW.
Yeah.
It's a stinker.
But I had no problem with Moxley and Omega. I didn't think that it went too far. As a matter of fact, the way that they built it up was this unsanctioned, just like no rules. If you watch this stuff, be prepared because it's going to be intense.
Yeah.
If they didn't deliver, that would have been laughed off as a joke, and nobody would have ever cared about this type of match again. They had to go there to deliver, and they did it. And they didn't go too far because I'll be the first to say I don't watch CZW. I didn't watch ECW. I don't like blood and gore in my wrestling.
It's gross.
It's gross. It's simulated violence. I know it's fake, but I'm entertained. You don't need to cut each other's heads off to entertain me. That match was the perfect balance. You knew what was fake and what wasn't. For all the barbed wire, for all the mouse traps, for all the glass that was in that match, hardly any blood at all. I think Cody bled more in the same pay-per-view with that match with Jericho.
He thinks too hard. He bleeds, though.
Jericho. It's good to see him living his best life.
Jericho is probably the greatest thing in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go as far to say he's best in the world, but he's the greatest, certainly, thing in wrestling right now.
He has been for a long time.
Nope.
What? What do you have to say?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean a long time?
He's been, when he was, especially in his last running years in the WWE, the most entertaining segments on that show. Him and Kevin Owens always stole the show. Everything else just fell to the wayside.
You're on the list.
The what is it? God, what is the celebration of friendship?
Festival of
The
Friendship.
Festival
That's
of
what it
Friendship.
was.
My God.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Jim Cornette tells me comedy does not equal money. Okay?
He says a lot.
Thank you, F you, goodbye.
Jericho, his money, man.
Jericho is
Everything
money.
Jericho touches turns to
You
gold.
know Jericho is money because Jericho has always been Jericho.
Yeah.
He has not been anybody else.
It's
Has he been another name ever?
I mean, in Japan, he wrestled under
real
a mask.
early.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah, for the most part, I think he was always Chris Jericho.
It's like Hulk Hogan, you know? He has a name that has been his name for forever.
Right.
He is a staple in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Him being in AEW is a big deal.
He knows the business.
Yeah.
You know, he's been in all the eras for the most part, with the exception of like...
Well, who takes the title off of him? Who
Omega.
gets the rub?
Well,
Omega, the guy who just got beat by Moxley. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
First of all, that was your answer. I don't know what you're pushing back
I
on.
didn't say it was a good answer.
Because I was just about to push back as like, Omega on the surface, yeah, I love Omega, but at the same time, I don't feel like he really needs it. I think he's a big enough name to where he doesn't need to win the title. My thing, at first I thought Moxley, but then again, that's also two former WWE guys, and I don't know how I feel about that for the next title change. So it's hard to say who's the next big guy. Maybe it's somebody completely new and grown up in AEW that takes it from him. I'd actually really like to see that. It's a shame that Sammy Guevara and Jake Hagar is already in the same stable as him, so it's not going to be those guys.
Right.
No, it's gonna be Cass.
I don't think it's a... Oh, my God.
Oh, don't do that to me.
Disgusting. That's horrendous. That's disgusting.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
I don't think it's a matter of Kenny doesn't need the title. I think it's a matter of the title needs Kenny. This is a company and a title that's in its infancy stage. There has been one champion, hence how Jericho can claim to be the youngest AEW champion.
Brilliant.
Very brilliant. Very brilliant. No, I think it's a matter of if you want your title to mean something, you have to give it to the best guy in the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to beat a dead horse here, but that's Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Bam.
That's fine. It was your answer to begin with. You're the one that argued.
I know, man, but that's my role here. Is I'm here to be your devil's advocate. I'm here to piss you off.
I can't get too mad. All right.
Yeah. I would hope not.
But yeah, that's how I feel about it. AEW, even when they mess up, you know that they're trying, and they make up for it. They have such an entertaining show.
They have the drive and the passion that WWE does not have because it's been around for so long.
I think that's a huge advantage.
And the same person has been running it for so long. There has not been any the only freshness they've had is NXT, and that was Hunter, and he's married in the family.
Hunter, like you BFFs with him or something.
Whatever.
Old Paul.
I am.
OP Levesque.
You know what I'm saying? we go way back, okay?
I knew him in high school.
Back in time.
Damn, I didn't know you were that old.
When he had a thick head of hair.
I think
you know what?
It's little things like that.
We going now, okay.
I feel like AEW has a better feel for their audience than WWE does, and that shows in the delivery of their program. That to me makes the biggest difference. That's why I'm able to watch wrestling, because if AEW wasn't around right now, I would have just taken my break from WWE and I don't know, watched nothing.
But that's how you have that's how you get all the people. If you want all the people watch, you play to all the people. How do you play to all the people? You put them all out there and you tell a story with them. The story doesn't have to be like, we're not saying give us year-long stories, guys, but we're just saying give us a story, like
it's coherent.
It's
story.
nothing to do. It's right. It's nothing to weave a story through 3 shows or like 2 weeks.
Like another divorce angle between Lana and Rusev.
Oh my God! who we gonna have Lana make out with this week? It's what I mean. It's just like
Bobby Lashley.
And it's like, I get it, y'all are actors and stuff, but like if that's how you gotta stay relevant by pimping out your wife, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's just what passes for stories these days.
She tried her hand at wrestling and it just didn't.
Lana is the best. Lana number 1.
Yeah, we want Lana.
I thought we did.
Womp womp.
Let me not do that because I don't know if that's like a copyright thing. whatever. Is it not?
So.
A sad trombone?
You think that,
I think that's royalty free.
Yeah. That's royalty free sad trombone.
Sad trombone.
Plus, you ain't making any money off this yet.
That's true.
You
but someday,
someday,
mark my words, Magum.
hit up her Patreon. Hit up her.
Yeah.
Hit up her
yeah.
Venmo. Her Venmo.
I know we're like or Venmo. You stupid. I know we're like 20 or so minutes into the show, but if you have not liked or subscribed to this channel, that'd be dope.
Has it really only been 20 minutes?
No, I don't know. It's been maybe 30.
I think we got a solid 40.
Yeah, we got a good little time. We did good. Did good, kid. I actually really enjoyed this.
I'm glad.
Did you
guys?
That
was pretty fun.
You guys have a good time?
I guess.
I'm the salty one.
Of course.
We'll try to do it. We'll try to do it more often, maybe once a month or something like that. It'll be pretty cool. Or maybe when there's like a big event, like a main event, like a pay-per-view, we can get like a recap up to the pay-per-view or whatever. That'd be dope.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'll do that. I still actually keep up with WWE solely on their pay-per-views.
Oh,
so.
see? Well, there we go.
Yeah.
That's mainly because we have a contest going on, so I'm
for
kind of
the belt.
obligated.
Who's got the belt right now?
He does, of
That'd
course.
be me.
Hey, good for you, huh? Good for you.
I mean, it's my belt. It'll stay with me till the end of time.
Till the end of time. It is mine.
We'll see what happens.
Cool. Well, guys, tell everybody, what y'all are up to. If y'all are up to anything, how they can find you. If you do stuff.
Not online, no.
All right.
No, man, you can hit me up at Danklage. It's like Peter Danklage, but Dank.
Yeah.
On Twitter, if you want to holler at me.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
I like stuff. I'm just trying to be an asshole.
Yeah, he's fun. He's really fun. And, they play video games too. So if you ever see them on, Xbox or whatever, look them up.
I mean, yeah, I play a lot on my Switch now, but
I
had to talk about that. I mean, with a new Pokemon game, and they got Luigi's
I need to get a Switch.
Mansion.
I need to get a Switch, and I need to get a PS4. The PS4 is gonna be $200, dude.
Go for the Switch.
Go for both.
Ooh, if y'all can see that face he gave. That Switch is that Switch coming down?
What realistically are you gonna play on this PS4? This fictitious PS4 we're talking about?
We're
that
talking
you can't
about
play, that you can't
PS4.
play,
We're talking about over
that
there.
you can't play on your Xbox.
Spider-Man, God of War.
That's it. So you're gonna spend $200 for 2 games.
Yes.
Well, $300, let's call it, because you gotta buy the games too.
They're like $15.
You're like
You're like
I'm just saying,
$15.
Switch is gonna give you
Your
more offers.
face is 15. I did want to play Lego Harry Potter collection.
Isn't that on Game Pass?
Is the Harry Potter one? I think
Oh,
the
I have
Star
no
Wars
idea.
one
The
is.
Star Wars one is on
Oh,
Game
yeah.
Pass. Dang,
Yeah,
I
I
was
can't
about to be
keep
really
track.
excited if that was the truth. Thanks for ruining everything. We had such a great podcast, Gustopher. Okay, cool beans. Yeah, so that's it. We're gonna wrap that up. I hope you enjoyed everything. Of course, like and subscribe. You can totally find me live action animation at Wakanda Moon Cosplay. All around the world, the same song. I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day. And if you're not having a good day, the day is almost over. Tomorrow is always a new day. So wake up and start fresh. Love you guys. We are out.
It's a new day. Yes, it is. No, that's copyright. You can't do that.
Oh, we can't do that one? Oh my god. Okay.
It's a good thing it's at the very end.
Oh, it's I know, right?
No.
By the way, shout out to the New Day, who are like absolutely awesome guys. Oh my god, my curly haired brother, Xavier Woods, okay? Austin, Xavier Woods, okay? Kofi was so nice. I cried. I cried.
For what?
It was horrible.
Just meeting them.
I was like,
cry?
thanks for being a representation for the black community, which is true. But it's good for. They were like,
breathe.
you can say it, black people. I was like, yeah. But
Probably.
no, they're really, really nice. I really enjoyed meeting them. Really great guys. I did meet Charlotte and Ric Flair a couple years ago. They were
me
really
too.
nice. Yeah. Oh, right. We were there the same year we met them, huh? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really awesome. It was really awesome. Oh, and there we go. Still talking. Okay, guys. Well, you have a good day. Love you guys. Peace out.
Later.